Members, we are going to take up SB 1235. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 1235 by Senator De Leon and others, enacting ammunition, making appropriation therefore.
Mr. McCarty, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I present SB 1235, which I believe is a common sense way to address the ammunition sale issue in California. Whether you're a Second Amendment champion or somebody who wants to bring about smart gun laws in California, we all agree we should try to keep ammunition out of the hands of dangerous people and criminals. And after 10 years of local ordinances, state laws, court decisions, I think this finally is a smart and simple approach doing this. And let me just tell you a brief story as far as how I got here. I've been working on this issue for 10 years. I love my job as an assembly member. Like many of you, I came from local government. I loved being a council member. But what I really did not like is, as a young council member, I got the call from our police chief and our police department too often that said, a young person has died in your district. I remember when they called me about a 15-year-old, Abel Alfonso, who got shot and killed in front of his mother's house. A few months later, a young 18-year-old pregnant woman was walking next to George Sim Park, shot in the head, rendered blind. I asked my police chief, what could we do? He said, let's focus on ammunition. That's where it all counts to. Make sure that felons and dangerous people aren't purchasing ammunition. So we wrote an ordinance here locally, was very successful. 200 felony arrests, 400 illegal firearms confiscated, rocket launchers, literally a grenade rocket launcher, thousands of rounds of ammunition, drugs, cash, confiscated because we went after felons who were purchasing ammunition. But what did we do? What did the felons do? They went to the other city. They went to a jurisdiction next door. So that focused on the need for a statewide solution. So my local ordinance became the basis of then Assemblymember De Leon's Measure 962 to focus on a statewide system for regulating ammunition sales. That was held up in the courts, the definition of handguns versus long guns. And so we finally came about what we think is a real common sense way to really address this issue once and for all. Not reinventing the wheel, not doing a background check on all 10 million firearms owners in California, but doing an approach that uses existing technology, existing databases to allow firearm purchasers to go into a gun shop, a gun store, a vendor, and swipe their ID or give their license, and it'll automatically pull up if the person is an armed and prohibited individual and or if they're already in the database system for owning a firearm, allowing it to be much more cost efficient to the taxpayer, much easier to the gun owner. It's supported by law enforcement. Our Police Chiefs Association and our police chief here in Sacramento and LA, they support this measure because they know it brings about a common sense approach to making sure that ammunition stays out of the hands of felons. Again, this uses existing DOJ databases and systems. The measure would not go into effect until the technology is out on the marketplace. We estimate 2019. There would be a simple $1 transaction fee per purchase to make sure the database is up and running. If a gun owner or a gun show doesn't have internet access, doesn't have a smartphone, they can call up an 800 number at DOJ, give them the person's driver's license number. Immediately, red light, green light goes up to make sure the person buying ammunition is not a dangerous individual. Again, this finally brings us to a solution to this issue after nearly a decade, a smart approach. I ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty. Ms. Melendez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Melendez. We have a parliamentary inquiry. Mr. Gallagher, state your parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, I think we have a novel concept here, a new one for me anyways, is that in this bill, sections 12, 15, and 16 amend an initiative that's qualified for the ballot but hasn't even been voted on yet. I believe it's been proposed by our lieutenant governor. How can we amend? Don't we have a constitutional or a statutory problem here in amending something that hasn't even become law yet and that's proposed to go to the voters for a vote?
Under the initiative process and by statute, we are allowed to take this action today.
What statute or
I'm sorry?
What statute or rule would allow us to do that?
Mr. Gallagher, Ledge Council has reviewed the item in front of us and has determined that the initiative could be amended should this legislature take action on the item before us. I should note that the vote threshold for this item is 44 votes because of the interplay between the bill in front of us and the initiative. Mr. Wagner, state your parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you. It's one of two things, and I'll let you sort it out. I think you are wrong on that ruling, and so I would appeal the ruling of the chair, or merely mention, because you are unable to cite a code, just some lawyer analysis. I'll give you Elections Code 9034C, which specifically says the legislature, nothing in that should be construed as authority for the legislature to alter the initiative measure or to prevent it from appearing on the ballot. So if we can take this measure and alter it, we could also prevent it from appearing on the ballot. And despite what Ledge Council says, and that's merely advisory, this body can vote differently, we ought follow Elections Code 9034. I will either repeal the ruling of the chair or, at your pleasure, state that this violates election code and therefore is not appropriate for us to hear today.
I will take that as a statement, Mr. Wagner. Thank you.
Well, take it as an appeal, then, of the ruling of the chair on the previous motion based on specific Elections Code statute section 9034C.
So Mr. Wagner is appealing the decision of the chair? So Mr. Wagner, you'll recall that Mr. Gallagher issued a parliamentary inquiry, which is a question of the chair. As such, I answered the question to the best of my ability. I have not ruled in the matter. I have not ruled on a point of order. Therefore, you cannot appeal something that I didn't issue. So,
which is why I stated it in the alternative. If you want to take that position, then I will raise the point of order. We are acting in violations of the Election Code section.
State your point of order.
The point of order is we are acting in violation of the Elections Code the Elections Code section, taking up this measure. Therefore, this measure is not properly before the House, and I would ask a ruling of the Speaker. The matter is out of order.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Your point of order is not well taken. I have determined that it is appropriate and proper that this body be voting on this measure today. I've indicated the reasoning. I've indicated the vote threshold. The point of order is not well taken. Mr. Wagner appeals the ruling of the chair. Mr. Wagner, you have 2 minutes to explain your reasoning, or you may waive if you wish.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I won't belabor it. I have made the point. I do think there's very clear statutory authority suggesting that we have not got the power to do this. To do it, we are in fact trampling on the will of the people who have signed the Lieutenant Governor's measure, have asked for it to go on the ballot as it appears, and we are acting in I'll use the word of one of my colleagues from the other side of the aisle, acting with extreme hubris in deciding that we can trump the will of the people, and we are not only acting in hubris, we're acting illegally and in violations of the election code. Therefore, I would urge the chair's decision to be overruled for us to dispense with this measure and to move on to the business of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner, and I should note that that was seconded by Mr. Mays. I have previously indicated my reasoning on the ruling. The question before the body, should the ruling of the chair be overturned? This is, should the ruling of the chair be overturned? Mr. Wagner is asking for an aye. Mr. Calderon is asking for a no vote. This is a procedural vote. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. Mr. Calderon is asking for a no vote. Mr. Calderon is asking for a no vote. Mr. Wagner is asking for an aye vote.
No, Leonard's a no. Leonard's a no.
Mr. Calderon is asking for a no vote. Mr. Wagner is asking for an aye vote. This is majority present and voting. Clerk will close the roll. Ayes 28, noes 48. That appeal fails. Where were we? Ms. Waldron, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm here to oppose SB 1235, and now in light of some of the information that's come out, I just want to add a couple of points about another issue. If passed and enacted into law, this bill would require the collecting and reporting of personal information, consumer information, for all ammunition purchases throughout the state. In doing so, SB 1235 would impose drastic and unjustified restrictions on law-abiding gun owners while doing nothing to reduce violent crime. And that's because, we keep saying the same thing, but that's because it will fail to reduce violent crime because as a law requiring honest citizens to register each and every ammunition purchase plainly will not deter criminals. Criminals simply buy ammunition elsewhere, steal it, purchase it on the black market, reload their own ammunition, or use a straw purchaser. And I know for a fact ISIS is not going to be going through and having their information registered by the department. So first and foremost, reporting ammunition sales has already been tried and failed at the federal level. Throughout the 80s, Congress considered repeal of a federal ammunition regulation package that required, among other things, reporting of ammunition sales. In 1986, the director of the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms supported eliminating the reporting requirements, stating that the Bureau and the Treasury Department have recognized that current record-keeping requirements for ammunition have no substantial law enforcement value. As a result, the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986 repealed the ammunition restrictions with little opposition to removal of that requirement. Members, as a mom, I oppose any restrictions on my ability to protect myself and my child. All of these bills, they kind of go around the fringes of trying to regulatorily take away our abilities to fully embrace our Second Amendment rights, and that includes self-protection. And as I had stated once before, being able to keep and bear arms is a great equalizer, especially for a woman and a mom. And, I grew up in New York. I lost 50 classmates when the World Trade Center was attacked. And that was done with planes. It wasn't done with guns. ISIS, the radical Islamic terror, they hate us. We talk about hate. They hate. And they're going to find a way to get us And if we just take and go around the fringes and take ammunition away, put us on registration lists, remove our ability to have guns where we need them to protect ourselves, we're just empowering those people who want to kill us. I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Ms. Waldron. Thank you for your patience, Ms. Melendez. You are now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, if you cannot legally purchase ammunition by going into the store and swiping your card and having someone give you the green or red light,
members, please keep the volume level down in the chamber. If you must take your conversations off the main floor, Ms. Melendez, you may proceed.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you can't purchase this ammunition when you go into the store legally, you will find another way to get it. They do. They always do. We've seen this over and over and over again. So putting limitations, putting this system in place might make you feel better, might make you feel like you can go to your constituents and say, look, I did something, but you haven't actually prevented any crimes from taking place. This measure was vetoed how many times now? 4 different times. This measure, the veto message from 2011. This measure would amend a recently enacted law concerning the sale and purchase of handgun ammunition. That law is currently being litigated. Let's keep our powder dry on amendments until the court case runs its course. 4 different times. So if someone wants to get ammunition, I promise you, they will get it, and you aren't going to do anything to stop them. I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Ms. Melendez. Ms. Grove, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, too, rise in opposition to this bill. This bill is just an illegal tax labeled a fee. That's all it is. It's an illegal tax labeled a fee. It's not going to do anything to prohibit criminals from obtaining ammunition, because the criminals that you so-called or say that it's going to protect or keep from getting ammunition, those criminals under current law still own firearms and are using those firearms illegal to hurt and harm people. So the only thing that this bill will do is create an illegal tax or a fee for law-abiding citizens to have to purchase, when they purchase their ammunition, they'll have to pay a fee to purchase ammunition. But let me tell you something, and it's really clear, and it just is so simple to me that, and it's beyond comprehension that you don't understand the fact that somebody who is illegal, some gang member, some illegal individual, some person in this state that is not allowed to have firearms already doesn't register their firearms with the Department of Justice. So the database that we're going to use is not even going to work for the people who are already prohibited persons or individuals that have firearms that should not be in possession of firearms. And to think that passing this piece of legislation that they're going to automatically go register to purchase ammunition for the illegal firearms that they already own is absurd. This is nothing but a tax or a fee on law-abiding citizens that will have to, in order to not become law-abiding citizens, have to pay that tax or fee to fund another portion of bureaucracy of government in order to still be law-abiding citizens. It's just an illegal tax or a fee manipulated into a system to think it's going to protect lives. But the bottom line is the prohibited persons that are causing deaths in gang-related shootings or shootings that take place in our state, those prohibited persons are not. I promise you. If you find one, if this law gets passed, and you find a prohibited person that shouldn't own a firearm, that gets online and registers with the Department of Justice to purchase ammunition for a firearm that they should not be in possession of, I would love to see it. But it's not going to happen. This is an illegal tax or fee on law-abiding citizens. That's all it is.
Thank you, Ms. Grove. Ms. Brown, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today I rise in support of SB 1235. Now, I hear folks saying, wow, she's supporting this bill. I did not support this bill last time it was on the assembly floor because I felt it was too onerous on law-abiding citizens and impeded their ability to exercise their constitutional right. AB 1235 has removed the licensure requirement by ammunition purchasers and instead requires instant background checks on ammunition sales. This bill will assist law enforcement it will assist law enforcement and the Department of Justice in preventing people on the armed prohibited persons list from obtaining firearms or ammunition. This is a common sense measure that achieves greater public safety while protecting the rights of law-abiding Californians. I respectfully ask that you vote for this measure. This is a good measure, and it's also supported by our local police chiefs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Jones, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise with a parliamentary inquiry, please.
Yes, stage parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, sir. Section 16 of SB 1235 replaces a key provision of the Safety for All Act. The initiative that's proposed for November provides, beginning on January 1st, 2019, a person is required to undergo a background check in order to obtain a permit to purchase ammunition. According to the initiative, that permit would be good for 4 years unless revoked as specified. The bill we are looking at today, SB 1235, provides that the background check requirement will not be effective until 6 months later, on July 1st, 2019, and specifies a different, more complicated background check process to be used each time ammunition is purchased. The question is, how does delaying the implementation date of an initiative and substantially changing one of its key provisions meet the initiative's requirement that all amendments must be consistent with and further the initiative and further the intent of the initiative? And I'll give you some background on that. As reported by Sacramento Bee, Lieutenant Governor spokesman Dan Newman referred to the amendments, this bill, as sickeningly cynical, which sounds to me like the Lieutenant Governor thinks they are not consistent and further the intent of his initiative. I can summarize that if I need to. It was lengthy, and I apologize for the length. I asked a question. I did. No, of the parliamentary.
Mr. Jones, I thank you for the parliamentary inquiry. I have ruled already on this matter when there was a point of order before the House. Prior to that, I answered a parliamentary inquiry on this matter. The bill is in order. It is properly before this House. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rather than ask a direct question of the author, I would invite the author to, and I notice that the Senate author is on the floor too. We might want to give him the opportunity to respond as well to the question.
Mr. Jones, let me clarify, that would not be in order. Only Assembly members are allowed to speak on this floor. Mr. McCarty will address your question.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
All right, I appreciate that. Members, this is the previous bill that we discussed probably wasn't the worst bill of the rapid-fire succession of anti-Second Amendment bills that we're getting today, but this bill quite possibly is the worst of the bunch. And I agree with the Lieutenant Governor's spokesman that this is strikingly cynical that this body would take up a bill to amend an initiative that hasn't even been voted on yet. And really, if this bill isn't unconstitutional, it should be. By passing this bill, the legislature, the legislature will be perpetrating fraud on the voters of California. This bill is classic razzle-dazzle, bait-and-switch rigmarole. The normal, everyday voter will go through their ballot summary. I can wait.
Members, please allow Mr. Jones to continue his rigmarole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad somebody's paying attention.
Members, please give your attention to Mr. Jones. And staff in the back and our visitors in the back of the chamber, please keep the volume level down so we may focus on the issue in front of us. Mr. Jones, you may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I appreciate you giving the proper due honor to this debate. It's disappointing to me right now that members of this House and the other houses are, on the floor, not really taking this issue serious. And I'm not questioning the intent of the author of this particular bill or the floor manager in their sincerity, but the debate regarding these bills is serious and as important. There's a legitimate chance that some of these bills will make it to the U.S. Supreme Court at some point in time for them to render a ruling on the appropriateness of these bills. And we have members of this floor today taking this as a joke. These are not jokes. These are serious bills that are impacting the lives of legal American citizens. And you can stand up here and argue that you're not trying to impact the Second Amendment. You can stand up here and argue that you're not trying to take away my rights or my constituents' rights or your constituents' rights. But the floor manager of a previous bill in a recent YouTube video and the author of this specific bill have stated in committee that they are trying to impact the legal rights of American citizens, that they are trying to impact the Second Amendment, that they are trying to amend and repeal the Second Amendment in California. So for those of us that stand up here and say that that's not happening, that is exactly what's happening.
I'm sorry. Mr. Stone, state your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It seems like our good colleague, while debating the Second Amendment, has yet to shed much light on the specifics of the bill that's before us, and that I thought was supposed to be what our debate was about. I ask the Speaker to stick to the bill, please.
Mr. Stone, that's a point well taken. Mr. Jones, let's focus on the bill at hand, but that's an admonishment to all members on both sides of the aisle to please focus on the content of the measure before the body for a vote. Mr. Jones, you may continue.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I'm not going to appeal your decision at this point in time, but I was speaking to the merits of the bill. When the author of the bill specifically says that his intent is to impact the legal ownership of firearms in California. But I will get back to my points. The normal everyday voter, our constituents on November, will be going to the ballot to vote on the Safety for All Act. They may even read through the ballot summaries or maybe even the full text of that act. And those who choose to vote for the initiative will fully believe that they will be getting exactly what they see in front of them and what they vote for.
30 seconds, Mr.
Thank you. In essence, they may think they're voting for a high luxury car, but when the car is delivered, it'll turn out to be a rusty old heap with a broken transmission. It'll be a car, but it won't be the car that the voters thought that they were voting for. Instead of Mr. Newsom's vision of safety for all, they will be getting Senator De Leon's alternative. Regardless of the merits of either proposal, this process is simply wrong. We should not support this subterfuge, but rather let the voters have their say, and then depending on the outcome of the election, the legislature can follow the procedure for amending the initiative as specified in the initiative. I ask for a no vote.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Cooper, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of Senate Bill 1235 because it's a responsible solution to keeping ammunition out of the hands of those who may do harm while protecting the rights of law-abiding gun owners. As hard as some of my colleagues may try, this is not an issue about Second Amendment. It's about ammunition ownership. And my chief of police here in Sacramento City has a very effective law that has kept ammunition out of the hands of criminals, felons, who should not own ammunition. This is common sense. It's not hard to figure out. In my district, the city of Sacramento has required record keeping on the purchasing of ammunition for years. This has been an effective program that is supported by the police department and has resulted in stopping individuals who are prohibited from purchasing guns and purchasing ammunition. This is a sensible, common sense bill, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. All debate having ceased on the measure, Mr. McCarty, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I deeply appreciate the intense and thoughtful debate on this issue. I will attempt to close and touch on a few of the questions that I had from some of my colleagues. As my colleague from Rancho Cordova reminds us up there, the job of this House is to enact just laws, but also we are asked to enact smart laws. And as we did a few months ago with the minimum wage debate, there's a new tool in our toolbox that was authored by former Pro Tem Steinberg 2 years ago, which allows us to address current initiatives, because we know that once something's voted on by the people, it's hard to make smart changes. And so this allows us to do just that, and that's what we're doing. And that's why this approach is supported by law enforcement. The police chiefs support this. Hunting groups support this because it brings about a smarter way of going about the record keeping, the databases, and the background checks. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. As far as the issue, as far as privacy concerns, as my colleague from Elk Grove noted, our Sacramento police use this tool efficiently because of data. They were able to keep the information for up to 2 years. So there is a clause in there. This information won't be out there for years and years and years. 2 years, and only law enforcement can access this information. And ammunition is the tool that makes the firearm work. We know this. It's common sense. We have laws on the books to prevent felons from purchasing firearms, but ammunition, silent. If you go buy cold medicine today, a can of spray paint, what do? Ask you for your ID and get your information, but not for the thing that impacts lives and impacts 32,000 lives, mortalities every year in California. Again, members, this is a smart approach and uses an effective tool that we now have in California to bring about laws that will impact the California in a positive manner. I ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty. With that, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Members, the vote threshold is 44. It's 55%. Vote threshold is 44. All members vote or desire to vote. This will be a manual tally on the vote threshold. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote or 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 desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Takes 44. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally of the vote, ayes 44, noes 29. The measure passes. Members, we have some special guests with us today. I want to recognize Assemblymember Lackey for your guest introduction.
Yeah, thank you, members. Speaker, I'm proud to have with me here today, joining me on the floor in the last few days, my son, Justin Lackey, who is attending Antelope Valley College, and he brought his good friend, Frazier Farrell, who's in the back of the chamber there, who is attending Humboldt State. And I'm very proud to have them join me here today.
Mr. Calderon, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to request no vote changes or add-ons on all gun bills.
The clerk will note. Yeah. Mr. Salas and Ms. Grove. We have guests of Mr. Salas and Ms. Grove in the gallery, I believe. Let's acknowledge and introduce. Ms. Grove, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today, we have Bakersfield College Center for Political Education students up in the gallery, I believe, over here. So these BC students and BC provide students with an opportunity to learn about politics, participate in various political institutions of our government, and these students represent a variety of interests such as business, science, liberal arts, history, and they are the future workforce and future leaders of Kern County. So welcome our Bakersfield students.